Welcome to another video from RCdiy.ca. This video covers the OpenTX D16 Bind Options. Please read the documentation for details and updates on what I will be showing you. A link to the documentation will be placed in the description below this video. When setting up the transmitter to connect to a receiver, use the D16 R F mode. The channel range usually defaults to 1 to 16. The entire channel range is transmitted and received. The SBUS usually carries the entire specified range. The number of channels available for throttle and servos is limited by the number of pins on the receiver. Usually we want the PWM pins to output channels 1 through 8, but this can be changed. A bind option menu appears when the transmitter is put into bind mode. Prior to OpenTX 2.2.1, this was a build option. Now, however, this menu will always appear when binding using the D16 mode. The bind option maps the channels to the receiver pins. If the channel 1 to 8 is selected, then channel 1 is output on pin 1 and the rest of the range maps to available pins. If channel 9 to 16 is selected, then channel 9 is output on pin 1 and the rest of the range maps to the available pins. This bind option also determines if telemetry is transmitted or not. These bind options used to be done using jumpers. Most of the time you will probably use channels 1 to 8 with telemetry on. Remember that the entire channel range specified will be transmitted and received. These bind options only relate to how the transmitted channels are mapped to the receiver pins. One example of where these bind options are useful is when one wants more than 8 PWM pins. A second receiver could be used. Details on how to bind two receivers are covered in the bind section of the RCdiy OpenTX manual. Receiver 1 is bound with bind option 1 to 8 and telemetry on. Receiver 2 is bound with bind options 9 to 16 and telemetry off. When using two receivers, only have one receiver transmitting telemetry, else telemetry will not work. This was a brief overview of the bind options and how to use them. Please use the link in the description below this video for details and updates on what was covered. This brings us to the end of this video. Please like, subscribe, and follow the links below. Stay safe and have fun.